Before I get started with this commentary, let me give a shout out to Jason on Patreon for sending this story to me. And this is coming from a United Airlines flight where you have this guy right here whose name is Adam Jen or Jenne. His last name is spelled Jenne, where he was kicked off of a United Airlines flight because he didn't have a mask, and this man actually decided to wear a red thong over his face as a replacement for a mask. Like, he looks silly, and you'll see the picture in the thumbnail when I'm talking for this video. He literally wore a red thong over his face as a mask. Like, he used the straps where the part where the legs would go in as the straps for the ears, and the part that was covering his face is, of course, the part that covers the woman's private area. And thought he was going to get away with it. And then, he was confronted about it, basically saying, "Sir, that's not a mask," and he knows it wasn't a mask. But then what he did next is what pisses me off so much about the so-called PC liberal. Because his response just screams liberalism all day. If he's a PC conservative, then that really says a lot. But either way, two wings of the same bird. This guy actually compared himself to Rosa Parks. How? There is no comparison. What she did was way back in a time where black people, even though still today we still get treated the same way, but back then it was really intense at that time. Two, she was on a bus, you're on a plane. Two, she's black, you're not. And I could go on and on and on. I choose not to because it feels kind of silly if I do. Just like this situation here is silly. This guy actually thought he was going to get away with being able to wear a thong over his face as a mask, but then compared himself to Rosa Parks. Why would he do that? There is no comparison. These are the same people that say don't see race and don't see this and don't see that, but they'll do anything they can to try to make it to be seen or be noticeable, whatever the case may be. That says a lot about him to even make that comparison when that comparison was not needed. But let me go ahead and read this article. It says a man was kicked off of a United Airlines flight after trying to pass a skimpy red thong off as a face mask. Adam Jen, or Jenne, age 38 of Cape Coral, Florida, was asked to disembark from a flight set to take off from Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport after getting into a dispute with a flight attendant, per reporting from Fox affiliate WSVN 7 News Miami. In a clip circulating on Twitter, Jenne was seen wearing the thong on his face. A staff member approaches Jenne and asks him to disembark for non-compliance with airlines' mask requirements. Jenne then told WSVN 7 News that he was wearing the panties on his face instead of a mask to challenge the mask mandates on flights. That's how you challenge it, is about making yourself look like a fool and an idiot. And you want to know what's so crazy? He's not the first PC person that I've heard or seen wear underwear, preferably women's underwear, over their face and try to pass it off as a mask. I'm telling you, these individuals are off their rocker. For real, for real. Let me continue. There is currently a federal mask mandate in place that requires travelers in the U.S. to wear a face covering on planes, trains, and buses, as well as in airports and other transit stations. And the reason why they do that is because an airport in all its components is considered an essential job. Those are things that you cannot afford to have shut down. And the people like this guy take it as a joke. And Harvey on Your World has talked about this several times when it comes to how PC people are so arrogant and their egos are so inflated that they feel that they are above everything. This guy probably thought he was like above the law. That's why he did what he did. And he just knew he was going to get away with it. And I just hope that when I go out to LA for my birthday next year, that I don't have to run into this type of element. Because, see, this is the kind of stuff that ruins flights. This is the kind of stuff that causes flights to be diverted to other locations just to deal with one issue. Illustrating the absurdity by wearing women's underwear on my face sounds perfect, Janae said, who wore an anti-Biden Let's Go Brandon t-shirt on the flight. That right there told me even more. For those of you who do not know, that Let's Go Brandon shirt, he's not actually cheering for someone named Brandon. That's actually code speak for F you, Joe Biden. It's a little story behind that, but I'm not going to get into it, but that's what it means. In an interview with NBC affiliate WBBH, he compared his actions to that of civil rights pioneer Rosa Parks. Again, why was she the first person you pulled out of your ass to make that comparison to when there was no comparison there? And like I said, this is not the first time that PC has done that either, where they will use our pioneers to try to excuse their ignorance. There is no comparison. Again, I say, there is no comparison. Everything else that has sparked change in this country has started from everyday people. Rosa Parks wasn't famous. She changed the course of history, Janae told the network. He could have said anyone else. And notice whenever they get in a bind like this and they pull out a black figure, they never, rarely, if ever, pull out a white figure. Why is that? Are they subliminally trying to tell us while making a mockery of our leaders and pioneers that their leaders and so-called pioneers and so-called leaders just didn't live up to par? Because I swear, you mean to tell me there's no one in that community, foreign or otherwise, that they could use as an example? Because they do it every time. And I bet he doesn't even believe that crap either. That's just the go-to person. Because you know what I've also noticed? That whenever it comes to talking, like for a small period, they started to mention Malcolm X a lot more often than MLK. But that was very brief. And I was like, something is off here. They never talk about Malcolm X in a good light. But then it was in the height of, the liberalism and conservatism and stuff like that. So they used it for a talking point, not because they actually care about the plight and the message from Malcolm X, but only something that benefits and serves them. And again, no comparison. But they'll bring up Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. But when it's time to talk about reparations, then they want to be mute and act like we don't know what we're talking about, or don't even know what the hell reparations is, or act like we don't deserve it and all this, that, and the third. Janae also claimed that he had worn underwear on his face on more than one flight, though this could not be independently verified, probably because it did not happen. I'm guaranteeing you, if this guy wore underwear on any other flight, he would have been caught and people would have been looking at him funny, because it's like, you're wearing underwear. That's not something people are used to seeing every single day. And then he wore red laced panties. No, let me pause this right quick so you can see it. There it is. That's a side view image right here from somebody who was recording him. Look at that. Look at that. Just stupid. I'm almost inclined to want to ask, whose panties are those? Or did he just go to the store and buy a pair and say, here, I'm going to use it as a mask? Here's the thing. They know they have to wear masks. What is the big deal about putting a mask on? I mean, if you're going to go the distance and put on a pair of women's thongs and use that as a mask substitute, even though it is not, then you could just wear the mask. That's what makes this even more remedial. Let me continue. Every single flight has been met with different reactions from the flight crew, some with a wild appreciation, others confrontational, Janae told WBBH. He added that he was allowed to fly most of the time, but on this occasion in Fort Lauderdale, he was asked to disembark by airport security. Janae told WSVN7 News that he later received an email from United Airlines saying he had been banned from flying on the airline while the company reviewed his case. In a statement to WBBH, United said they stood by the employees who made the call to remove Janae from the flight. The customer clearly wasn't in compliance with the federal mask mandate. And let me just stop right there before I go any further. I'm almost at the end. Compliance. A word they love to thrust onto us that they do not like being thrusted onto them. They hate that compliance word when it is applied to them. But they love to throw that word onto us every single time they can. So this guy didn't comply. That's why he was removed from the flight. Again, they can have a huge word salad, but if there's one word in there that they don't want, they will pluck it out of that salad in order for that salad to be tasty. Avoiding any potential disruptions in air, the statement read. Okay, now it says United Airlines did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Insider on whether Janae will be banned from other United flights. All in all, this guy's an idiot and arrogant, and he had the nerve to use Rosa Parks' name to try to push his own narrative. For what reason, I don't know. I guess he thought it would soften the blow, or that it would make people even more outraged. No, we're looking at you like you're stupid, and you are. And you look like a clown. You know, a clown wears a red nose. This one wears a red thong on his face. All because he didn't want to wear a mask. All because he did not want to wear a freaking mask. Like I said, he could have easily just put a mask on if he was going to do this and what you see in the picture. Like, for real, for real. But people like him make it so damn difficult and make it seem like it's the hardest thing in the world to do. It's just a mask. It's not going to kill you. But let them tell it, it will be. Man, the stories you hear. Oh, I can't wear this because I have a medical thing. Well, show me the note from your physician that says you have a medical thing. And they can never produce that note. Oh, it's against my religion. Can you point out to me what religion you have and point out where it says in whatever text that it says thou shalt not wear a mask? And then they have the ones, oh, but I can't breathe and everything like that. Do you have an asthma pump? Because there's people out there with asthma who have worse breathing than you do, and they still wear their mask. See, the excuses that they come up with can be countered. And then when they can't, and then when their excuses can't feel like they can't counter, that they can't get away with it, then that's when they get belligerent, loud, and sometimes physical. But anyway, I have a feeling that this will not be the last time we hear of stories such as these.